It's Monday, it's 8 p.m, and it's the Monday assessment.
Your people gather round your town when things are on the up or things are falling down. Celebrate the hard times, stay passionate through the lows, find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days, but all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, the memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy being blue.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Monday assessment by the View from the Medway Fancast in partnership with Gillingham FC Supporters Club, Sports Social Podcast Network, and Her Game 2, and sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station and Wicked Creative. David went to be with us tonight, but he's having slight mic issues, so there is three of us for now, but hopefully David can join us. So we will get straight into it, and without further ado, I am joined this evening by Warren Taylor, and I'm joined by Bex. I totally forgot the memo. I totally forgot it. As soon as I saw your mask come on at the bottom, I was like, no, what am I going to do? There you go, Warren, mate. That one's for you. So how are we?
You look a lot better, Bex, I can assure you.
I'll put it back. I'm not putting it back on. It's too hot.
Oh, God. All right, guys, we will just move straight on this evening to the Views News. Hopefully David can join us. So I'll take it away, Warren.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. We have got some breaking news for all our viewers. I don't know if anyone remembers the last time that Bex was on the show, but I can assure everyone that now Bex has decided that she can learn how to cut her own chicken. So,
David, can you hear us, David?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey! There we go. There we go. Right,
And I didn't need my wife's help.
Kids, 4-year-old.
I just look like a flight attendant now.
Well, welcome back, Mr. David Bowie, ground control to Major John. So we'll get on with the Views News. Enough of this frivolity. We go straight into the game at Colchester on Tuesday night in the Virtue Cup. For me, it was a little bit disappointing the way the game ended, but I can understand it. So, David, I'll come to you first. Now we can hear you. What were your thoughts on Tuesday night's game at Colchester?
My overriding reaction is a bit like yours. It was just a bit of a weak way to finish, really. I felt like we controlled quite large portions of the game. It was just, the sending off through us and conceding late was a bit of a kick in the teeth. I know this competition isn't everyone's cup of tea, but when there's a Wembley date at the end of it, I always feel like this is one of the competitions that, especially clubs at League Two, should probably take more serious than they do. My overriding reaction is we're still in the competition. I think if we win the next game, we're through anyway. So it was good for Sam Vokes to get another goal, and just a shame that they kind of capitulated a little bit at the end and ended up losing the game.
I'll come to you, Bex. We play a lot of youngsters in the Virtue Trophy. Now, I can see a lot of the arguments for, but I can also see the arguments against. What's your feeling about playing the youth team in that competition?
I think they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't, really, because everyone's been really clear this year that they want us to focus on the league and they want promotion. And, yes, there's a 2-year plan, but fans would rather go up this season. And I think most fans would be happy to sacrifice the Virtu for that. And I think it's important for the youngsters to have game time. So there is an argument to be made for playing the younger players. I think what's unfortunate is that when we do that and other teams don't, it makes us look much worse than we are. And I thought that especially the youngsters went out and actually did a really good job. It was just really telling when they threw all their sort of first team players on and made the numbers up at the end, just as we took our bigger players off and brought the young players on. You could then really see the difference in quality between some of those youth players and the first team players. And I think that really was what made the difference. And it's kind of sad that a lot of people didn't really see that and just said, oh, same old Jill, same old Jills. Because actually, I thought there were some really good performances in there. Particularly, I think Dobbs looked great.
Yeah. So I'll come to you, Chris. And we had two errors from two of our youngsters at the end of the game. From first Sereno getting sent off and then Harry Bridle giving away the penalty. What do you think that does for youngsters' confidence when these things happen and it does cost us a game that we could possibly have won?
It's a learning curve for him, I think, personally. Yes, Harry Bridle made the mistake, but it's one that he'll learn from and probably hope not to make it again. Lenny Sereno, he's been, for me, a revelation since he's come in, and just to get sent off and, his disciplinary record's not been great, but I think Dobbo touched on that after the game. He said, he's not disappointed, but just learn from it. So I think it's just a learning curve for everyone. Players make mistakes when the younger players make mistakes when they're in their prime. Players make mistakes as they get older. It's just part and parcel of football. And I think if the lads can harness that, and really use it to their advantage, then I don't see that it's going to affect them too badly.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to say well done to the 132, I think it was, supporters that went there in a Virtue Trophy game. I thought that was quite a good effort on a Tuesday night going down to Colchester, because the Dartford Tunnel's not the most salubrious place to spend a Tuesday night stuck in traffic. So well done to all those supporters that did make it. I was working and I think I caught the last 20 minutes. So we was winning 1-0 when I started watching. So you can blame me for the loss. We'll move on to the FA Cup draw, and it was drawn today. And for those who don't know, we've got Newport away. Bit of a bogey ground up until this season. Bex, I'll come to you. What did you think of the draw?
Well, I'm actually not feeling the same way as everyone else, because I know lots of fans have said they're not very happy. But my two thoughts are, firstly, I missed going to Newport in the league because I'd just come out of hospital. So I've got now a chance to go down there and do that. And I think also it's a really good opportunity for us as a team to prove that the last result down there wasn't a fluke and that we can go down there and win, and sort of shrug off that whole bogey team feel that we've had in previous seasons. So I'm okay with it.
Right. It's good for Bex. I think there was probably 50 odd teams that I'd prefer to have played other than Newport, but I don't mind the trip down to Newport. It's not that.
At least it's not Carlisle. We haven't got to go all the way up there.
Or Spennymoor or Truro.
I wouldn't mind Truro. Cornwall's all right.
Yeah, it's a long old journey down at Truro. It's the back end of nowhere. I'm sure when they have an away game, Truro, the last one to leave has to turn off the lights. For me, the FA Cup is a real important competition. Having grown up through the 70s, 80s, especially in the early 70s when I was a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, and the FA Cup final was the only game you'd probably see on telly live all season. It's an important competition for me. So I'd like to ask you, Chris, why do you think the FA Cup has lost all meaning? compared to back in the 70s, 80s when it was a big competition.
I think because it is now very heavily dominated by the big boys in the league, they seem to be pulling the strings. You know, the likes of scrapping replays. I think replays are important not only for that small team that could get a draw at home and then end up playing in front of 60, 70,000 people in a replay. It hurts the lower teams with finances. I think that the big boys are all very well and good to sit there and then piss off to Timbuktu to play a friendly halfway through the season, but when they're not thinking about the teams further down the pyramid. So for me, it's kind of lost the romanticism with the FA Cup has kind of disappeared with that the scrapping of the replays, and again it's just become a competition for the big boys, and it just doesn't really help anyone further down the pyramid.
Yeah, I'll come to you, David, on with the FA Cup. How do you feel? We teams like Cheltenham get through the first two rounds, and obviously there's a lot of non-league clubs and lower league clubs as well get through to the third round, and everyone's dreaming of the tie against your Arsenal, your Man United, your Liverpools, and you want an away game. What do you think of the Premier League clubs that now play half their youth team in the FA Cup competition for the first couple of rounds? How disappointed would you be to see go to Liverpool and they play out their youth team?
You'd be disappointed. And I think that I was actually going to say something, not knowing what your question was going to be, was that when we play in the Virtue Trophy and competitions like that, you have to play a certain amount of players that played the previous game. And I feel that maybe they need to bring something like that into the FA Cup for these big teams, because when I started going to the FA Cup in the 90s and you got big teams come down, they didn't rest players for games against Gillingham. You pretty much saw the players you saw on Match of the Day are the players you saw at Priestfield, or if Gills went there, you saw them. They may rest one or two at most, but now, yeah, if a team game down here, or especially if we went there, you're not going to see anyone unless they're coming back from an injury or a suspension and they want to get minutes under their belt. So I think that, yeah, the FA should bring some sort of law in that, yeah, they have to play 4 or 5 or 6 from the previous game to at least let the fans of a Gillingham or a lower league club get to see the players that you get to see on TV all the time for that potential one-off time that they may get to see these clubs.
Yeah, I agree. So for me, I think every Premier League side, if they play a lower league team and they drop one player, 2 players, I think they should be fined £50,000 for each player, and that money be given to the lower league club, personally, because then it might make these Premier League clubs actually start to think about what they're doing to the football pyramid. Throughout the years, Gillingham haven't done particularly well in the FA Cup, but when we have, everyone remembers the Arsenal 5-2 when they had to bring on all their stars when we went 2-1 up. Magnificent day out. The home games against Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, absolute magical moments. And I think that some of the youngsters from the local area miss out because they are the big games. They are the games that you can get a full house for. And these youngsters want to go and see these Premier League players in the flesh because they're never going to get the chance on a normal day. And I think that this is where I hate the Premier League at the moment. I've got a real hatred of anything Premier League, any supporter of Premier League, right? I just don't get it. Why all these international players come in and they're taking money out of our game, and that money going abroad, and we don't bleed youngsters into our first teams an awful lot. We're quite happy to go out and spend 80 million on some rubbish from abroad. I mean, that Xerxes of Man United. I mean, I see him play, and I think I've still got a chance of playing professional football myself. I mean, I've never seen such a waste of space in all my life, and the guy's getting over 100 grand a week for it. And I think to myself, this is rubbish. There are far better strikers in Championship, at least, than Jonathan Zirkzee. I just don't get it, and the money's just going.
Not much better.
Who?
Sesko plays for Man United. He's not much better.
I know, it's rubbish. I see all these players coming in and we're paying millions for them. And that money's going into foreign clubs and making them better. And we see players that are substandard, right? They don't care. They don't give two hoots whether they play or not. They're still getting their money. I mean, you look at someone like Raheem Sterling. If Cheltenham was to offer him minutes, come and play for us in January, right? No one else is going, but Chelsea, would you like to pay his wages? Because we can probably afford about 2 bags of salt and vinegar crisps and a packet of peanuts for him, right? But I just don't get it.
No.
Why would you train on your own?
Yeah. I do think that there's something to be said for the amount of money that they're on, because you look at some of them players who are on 500 grand a week, 350 grand a week, whatever they're on. You know, if I was on 500 grand a week, would I be putting in a maximum effort? That's a question mark. I mean, I suppose you would if you're in love with football, but I suppose there then becomes that fine line of, are you in love with football or are you in love with money? And if it's the latter, I think that, you know, your performances aren't going to be there. And I think that's probably most of the problem with the Premier League is you look at the teams like Bournemouth who can't pay great wages, that are overperforming sometimes, but you got the likes of United and that are just kicking it around the park. The likes of Chelsea's, the Arsenals, the Man Cities that are just kicking the ball around the park aimlessly because they're on 500 grand a week. They live in mansions. They've got Bentleys. They've got this. They've got that, the other. What do they need to play football for when they're already in generational wealth?
Yeah, I get it. And Bex, what do you think of amount of money that's in the Premier League now that's not coming down and being shed amongst the pyramid?
I think it is a massive systemic problem. And I think they've got such power now for things like merchandising as well, that they can advertise themselves to the younger generations. And I think this is where the FA Cup is so important, because all the time you've got big clubs playing small clubs, there is a chance that those fans who normally watch a big club see the FA Cup games, they see the lower league clubs putting on a brilliant show, and then they think to themselves, oh, I might go and watch. And we're in a situation now where there's an international break. There's no Premier League. Most of the Championship isn't playing either. Those fans should be getting themselves down to League 1 and 2 grounds and watching a local match. And all you see all over Twitter is, oh, there's no football because of the international break. And that's generated by the Premier League. They want it that way because they don't want fans realising that there are other clubs they could be going to watch. And I think the FA Cup has that magic to draw people down to lower league clubs. And it's such a shame because I don't enjoy the Premier League the way I used to. And it's not the same. It doesn't have the same atmosphere or culture. As Chris says, they just kick it around the pitch. So I think it does have to be looked at how that money gets redistributed, or how the wealth that comes from that gets spread out so that we're not disadvantaged and we do benefit from the money that they're getting.
Yeah, I agree, Bex, with everything you've said there. I want to come to David because I want to talk about another FA Cup draw for our local neighbours, Chatham, who unfortunately got a tie against Buxton away of the Northern Premier League. I couldn't think of a worse draw for Chatham, maybe. So clubs like Chatham Town are a rising club, right? Now, I know for a fact that they've taken a lot of fans away from Gillingham because of under the Scaddy era, a lot of fans left Gillingham to go and watch Chatham every week. They started to become successful. So what do you think clubs like Chatham miss out on in the FA Cup as it stands at the moment, David?
I still think up to a certain point it needs to be regionalised as well, because I don't know how much Chatham are going to get for this game, but it may end up costing them more to get there than they actually get for playing. And even if they'd got a team slightly outside of London, would benefit them, obviously. But they're probably going to be looking at that as a game that, why can't they go there and win? I don't know what the difference in level is. I don't think there's too much in it.
I think it's one bit
for them,
two below.
Two below, yeah. So that they're going to be thinking that it's a game they can win, but on the financial side of it, it's a game where they're probably going to make no money out of it, and unless they win. Where sometimes you can, for example, if they'd got us, it would have been a huge tie, but there would have been way more money involved in that type of fixture for them. So I think they need to work out a way for these clubs up to a certain point where it's either regionalised, seeded, or just something where these clubs that are non-league can get a tie that they're happy with. I know it sounds silly that you can't just pick a game to make them happy, but they've got to find a way up until a certain point where they can just seed it, regionalise it, that these teams aren't going to have to travel hundreds and hundreds of miles. Like, how many people are honestly going to be at that game? And even our game, like, how many fans are really going to go to Newport versus Gillingham? It'd be interesting to see the difference.
Prem don't want to come in until later. They pay for it.
Yeah, it's going to be something to see that the attendance from the league game to this cup game, and I bet there's quite a difference. And I know obviously Newport don't get huge crowds anyway, but I think they've got to try and help the clubs out in the lower level to bring the atmosphere back to the FA Cup, because we've all been to games where it was the best thing ever, and now it's almost like I might not go to that, because it's happening to the League Cup as well. You look at our attendance in the League Cup for the Wimbledon game; it was atrocious.
Yeah, I agree, David. I mean, for me, I think that a good way to distribute some of the wealth a little bit more evenly amongst lower league clubs would be to maybe take some of the prize money from the later rounds, your quarter-final or your round of 16, your quarter-final and your semi-final, take some of that money away and redistribute it in prize money for first round losers, first round winners, second round losers and second round winners. I just think that'd be a better way to distribute the wealth. And as you said, someone like Chatham's going to go to Buxton, crowd of maybe 1,100. I know Chatham will take quite a fair few up to Buxton. But I just hope that the competition as a whole doesn't fold, because that's the way I see it going at the moment. I mean, personally, I'd get rid of the League Cup, just have the FA Cup for Premier League sides, and then turn the Virtue Trophy into a Championship, League One, League Two, and maybe involved some of the National League, and put a European place up for grabs. Take away the European place from the Premier League, from the League Cup, and let some of the lower clubs have something to go for in the League Cup, and totally not include Premier League clubs. Yeah. That's how I'd go anyway. I'm sure many of our viewers would have different thoughts, and I'm sure between all four of us would have different thoughts. So I'd like to move on to the Sam Vokes influence. I'd like to talk about Sam Vokes. He came in with a broken arm, been injured, but he's now just coming out into the press what an influence he is behind the scenes. So I'll come to you first, David. What do you think Sam Vokes has provided the football club since he arrived?
A really good player. It's as simple as that. Really good player, really good pro. And I know we don't want to go too much into the game because we're going to discuss that later, but there's just a huge difference between him and, for example, we take Josh Andrews, for example, who's they're the like for like. It's night and day. And I know it's completely different levels because of the levels Sam Vokes has played at, but when you watch someone like Josh Andrews, he's in a wrestling match for the whole game with the centre halves, and Sam Vokes doesn't ever seem to get fouled, really, doesn't really foul the centre half. But when he's like Josh Andrews and Ollie Hawkins, for example, it's constantly giving away free kicks, getting fouled. You spend half the game looking at their stomachs where their shirts are being pulled up. And Sam Vokes is just nothing like that. Doesn't really jump to win the ball. He knows what he's doing. He can hold defenders off and just flicks the ball on, flicks the ball with purpose, and looks for a player. But just it's the Dion Verton vibes, isn't it? I think this is what we all thought when he signed. It's just that player that's played at a really high level that just looks head and shoulders above anything else that we've got in the team. And I'm just so happy now that he's fit, and hopefully we can get a good run out of him, and just need to find him the partner that's going to suit him. And I'm sure we're come on to the partner later on.
I'm sure we will. Yeah, so I've come to you, Bex, and Sam Vokes has been around the football club and he's been around the first team, but obviously he's not played that much. What influence do you think he has on his fellow pros in the first team?
Well, I think he's got really high, what my son from gaming would call game IQ, and he's got a very intelligent football brain. And I think that's really useful in the dressing room, because I've heard from other players talking in interviews and things, it sounds like he's sharing a lot of that expertise with the younger players. And, they will have watched footage of his goals and they will have watched how he plays. And if they're absorbing even half of that, it's going to help develop them into better players. So I think it's not just about what he's offering us on the pitch. It's what he's offering to the other players in terms of learning opportunity. And even, players like Josh Andrews, I think, are going to benefit so much from watching him and listening to him. And it's going to raise everyone's level all the time he's with us. So I think it's a brilliant thing to have.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll come to you, Chris, for the last one. In the last week, it's come out that he spent quite a fair bit of time with Joe Dunn and the youth team. I don't know whether that's in a coaching role or just a mentoring role. What do you think it means for some of our youth players that are coming through? And we've got quite a good selection of youth team players at the moment that, with the development that they're showing at the moment, we could sign quite a few on 1 year pro deals at the end of their youth contract. So, yeah. What do you think of Vokes' ability to inflict his personality on young players?
Just goes back to the footballing brain, the footballing IQ, everything that he embodies as a player. Like he's played at the very top, and then just having that knowledge around the dressing room. I honestly didn't know that he'd spent time with the youth team, so beg my pardon for that. Yeah, I think with the experience that he's got, I don't think he was necessarily brought in just to be a football player. I think Gareth has clearly seen the other side of him, where he's at that age now, he's got that maturity now where he can be a coach or coach youngsters or coach first team players. I mean, he's spent a lot of time with Josh Andrews and one-to-one meetings with Josh Andrews on how to improve. I think it could benefit maybe Seb Palmer Holden as well, and maybe your mate Elliot. And we just see that it's always nice to have that kind of experience in your arsenal, to lay down some stuff to the younger players and even the senior pros, because there's no more senior pros in that starting 11 really other than Sam Vokes. So yeah, he's definitely going to be a figurehead for a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't that impressed by the signing like some people, but I can assure you that since he's been at the football club and knowing what he's doing behind the scenes, as well as now he's building up his fitness to start playing, and as David alluded to, he looks a class player. He's just different to a lot of centre forwards that we see, and I think that's down to experience. So I think he's been a fantastic signing. I'll eat a bit of humble pie, and I would say that he's been a fantastic influence in the dressing room.
There we go.
Over to you, Chris.
Oh, yeah, David, over to you, mate. Seeing as you're back, you can now host the show. So we'll start with the lineups, mate.
No worries at all. So Glenn Morris was in goal. We had a back three of Sam Gale, Andy Smith, Shadogi. We played wing backs with Romeo Hutton, Max Clark, with Ethan Coleman and skipper Robbie McKenzie in the centre of midfield. Had Johnny Williams in the 10. And he was behind Sam Vokes and Seb Palmer Holden. So I will start with you, Warren. What were your thoughts on the lineup? Was there any shocks there?
Yeah, I personally thought Elliot Nevitt deserved to start. I made
there early, mate.
I made my feelings quite clear during the week. Even during the game, I said, now we'll score some goals when he came on. And what happened? He scored. Lo and behold. And by Christ, what a player. And he's given me so much smugness on this show today. And so much smugness on our WhatsApp group, right? He will be my living hero for absolutely years to come. And I'm waiting for Mr. Creasy to apologise, right? Because otherwise, I'm going to start reading out some of the messages that we had about Nevitt, right? So I want to see Mr. Creasy eat some real lovely, humble pie.
I don't know if I can apologise for someone that scored 5 goals in 48 games. I did say to Chris before the game, I said it'd be 0-0 and with 10 minutes to go, here come on and Nevitt will score. Little did I know that obviously we'd be behind and he came on, but I'm sure we'll get onto him a little bit more later and I'll go into my thoughts on him.
Come back to it, right? Mr. Clell, you're not short of a few words. Mr. Crichton, you're not short of a few words, right? Apologies will be accepted on the WhatsApp group. I'd prefer them on here, but I was right. Okay. To be honest, yeah, Palmer Holden, after his workout at Colchester on Tuesday night, where he didn't even make the bench, came in and he did provide something up front. He did provide something different, but I think he played in a different position to what Elliot Nevitt is asked for. I think Palmer Holden was more a real partner for Vokes, whereas Nevitt's being asked to lay off of Andrews and do a more defensive role because of the formation we have played for a lot of the season. I wasn't surprised to see Nevitt on the bench. I'm just glad that he came on and proved a few doubting Thomas's wrong, mainly on our WhatsApp group. And the rest of it picked itself. Clark always had to come in. I thought Tuesday night, Clark in midfield was a revelation. I thought he played really well in midfield, and I don't think we'd be averse. He reminded me of John Crabb, and I'm sure all three of you have heard of John Crabb, who played for Gillingham. No, didn't think so. He was a left-footed midfield player, played in a 4-3-3, and Max Clark's performance on Tuesday night just reminded me of him. So, yeah, it was samey as I thought it would be. But I want to get away from this three at the back. I don't like it.
Nice. And Bex, talking of three at the back, sorry. What were your thoughts on the lineup? And when you look at that back seven, if you include the two central midfield players and the goalkeeper, for a home tie against a team that were third bottom, that are now bottom of the league, is that too defensive?
Yes. I mean, I have to agree with Warren. I don't like a back three either. And I was worried when I saw that Shad was in again. I think they've really, really got to look at that. I've always said, I think attack is the best form of defense. And the higher up the pitch you're keeping the team, the further away the ball is from our goal, the better. You know, that's that doesn't need a football brain to sort of employ that. And when you're playing against a team like Cheltenham, we needed to score the first goal, which I'm sure we'll talk about, as a bit more in a minute. But I felt it was too defensive. I didn't feel like there was anywhere from the back where the ball was going to get forward quickly without it having to be passed and worked through a lot. And it gave Cheltenham too many opportunities to get the ball back. And a lot of our play was getting held up in midfield. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't have played it that way, but then I'm not paid to be the manager. So.
And Chris, lastly with you, mate, what were your thoughts on the lineup? And if we focus on the bench, obviously it was good to see Daki back, but what did you think when you saw the bench and how they could potentially impact the game?
Well, if you look at it from the whole, mate, like we don't really have much choice but to play either a back four or a back five at the moment, because we don't really have any wingers fit, mate. Like McCleary's out, Johnny Smith's out, Aaron Rowe was out. We've not really got any other option other than to play this formation, and we will get onto the game in a minute. But it just felt a little bit unbalanced because you've got Hutton, who, for the life of me, he's probably the most frustrated player on the field on Saturday because the amount of crosses he put in. He was bombing forward, whereas Max Clark was staying back a bit, which is not a detriment to Max. He's not criticising Max because he was very good, but I just felt it was not as balanced as it could be on them wings. But we don't really have a choice at the moment. So yeah, the lineup kind of picked itself. Daki coming back, probably would have liked to have seen him on a little bit earlier. Probably would have liked to have seen Lenny Serino come on a little bit earlier as well to impact the game because he brings a different dynamic to Max Clark. But yeah, at the moment, mate, we can't really do anything because I think we're kind of relying on the likes of Johnny Smith and McCleary to come back.
Cool. Let's move on. So I will start with you, Warren. So I'm going to try and obviously get you all to explain your thoughts on the game, but I also want to give you a player to discuss as well, and what you think they're bringing to the team currently. So I'll start with you, Warren. So your player I want just to discuss is Romeo Hutton. Puts umpteen crosses into the box. Some look like they're going to a player. Some look like they're just put in for the sake of being put in. Considering he's probably, I would say, in my own opinion, been one of our better players this year. When he does do this, does it frustrate you? Is it the only thing he can do? Or is it other players just not getting into a position for him to be able to pass them that he just thinks crossing the ball is the only option? And obviously your thoughts on the game, mate.
Yeah, I'll go with Romeo Hutton first. Because I think my opinion of the game is going to be quite different to a lot of yours. So for me, Romeo Hutton has been superb this season. He's getting into areas where he can cross the ball. Sometimes he gets punished with a little lack of help where he's having to put the ball in because he hasn't got a winger to either lay it back or put a little pass forward into the wingers. And so he's having to do a lot of crossing himself. And to be honest, I just think that your movement of your front two is all important. Now, when Romeo has to come in on his left foot and go back and then cross it in on his left foot, I hardly ever see a run to the near post. We're all at the back post constantly. And we're not providing that outlet in that near post area where he can either knock it in to, say, Vokes or Andrews at chest height, or he's not knocking it in where someone can run in and maybe get a header in on target. For me, he provides a lot of ammunition for us getting in the penalty area, and he's a big part of our intensity and our pressure on oppositions when we're doing a high press. As for the game itself, I haven't enjoyed a Gillingham performance at home like that for at least 3 or 4 years. And I would say that would come in the last 3 or 4 years, that would definitely be one of my top 5 performances. We pressed high, We played the football. We passed the ball around. We created numerous chances, which we continued to fluff throughout the whole game. And there was many people that were guilty of guilt edge misses. Fortunately, we had the king come on and score an equaliser. But I thought our intensity was fantastic. We knocked the ball around. We got the ball wide in wide areas. We got crosses in. We had chances galore in the penalty area, but we couldn't put the ball away. We could, on another day, we could quite easily have won that game 8-0. Right? Another day, that could have been an 8-0 victory we're all talking about, and we all could be raving about it. Yeah. Their goal, how lucky was that? Hit the bar, came straight to their centre forward, who nodded it into an empty net where Morris had dived and whatever. Right? Bit of luck. It was the archetypal smash and grab. Right? It would have been the biggest robbery since Ronnie Biggs and the Great Train Robbery if they'd have won the game. I really enjoyed the performance Saturday. I came away entertained, even though the result wasn't great against a Cheltenham side. And all I keep hearing is Cheltenham were poor. Cheltenham were poor. We made them look poor. We didn't give them a chance to play, right? And yes, we've got youngsters in Smith, Gal, and Ogie that make mistakes that allow the opposition to get in. But with the intensity we play with, I'll play with that a little bit until we get Masterson back, or if Masterson's not back in January, I think a experienced centre half is an absolute must now. And I know I was banging on it about it before the season started, but I just think a real experienced centre half is an absolute necessity. Sometimes you can't just keep playing kids. And I think sometimes you just got to understand that they are kids, they are going to make mistakes, but they're giving their all. And I thought that although Andy Smith had a tough time Saturday, I thought him and Gal were excellent. And I thought Ogie did all right. Right? He's just prone to making so stupid errors where he switches off for that 2 seconds of the game, and his errors seem to lead to bad things happening, and it's frustrating. But in terms of centre half, he's still only young.
Thank you very much. And Bex, I'm going to come to you now for your thoughts on the game, and especially that first half, because a bit like what Warren said, for me, the first half was the best 45 minutes, bar the little Ogie bit towards the end of the half. But we just looked like every time we actually looked dangerous going forward, and you were almost just waiting for us to score. And little did we know it'd take us 95 minutes to score. But what were your thoughts on the game? And the player I want you to discuss is Johnny Williams. Obviously, I'm very critical, if you didn't know, of Elliot Nevitt for just obviously lots of effort, but you don't get any end product. Is Johnny Williams lucky that he gets by on a lot of effort? Because for me, if it's not a defender, it's Johnny Williams who gets man of the match at Gills. And for me this season, I think we scored 1 goal, and I'm not sure if he's got an assist yet. If he has, he's I think got 1 at most. Does he get by without criticism rightly, or should we be expecting more from someone that's played international football?
I think Johnny's a fan favourite, and I think when you look at how man of the match is awarded, you've got to remember that it's awarded at the Gills games by the sponsors. So all it needs is for them to be big Johnny fans, and they might well decide that he's going to get it before the game rather than after the game. And there's a lot to be said for whether that's right or not. That doesn't mean he's not deserving of it. And I think when you look at the game, there is one player that is running and running and running, and he's like a puppy chasing the ball, and that's Johnny. And he works really, really hard. He's not the biggest player on the pitch, as we know, and yet he's always going in for the headers and trying to win everything. And I think it's hard to keep track of where he is on the pitch because he's running so much. And I do think that effort does merit being rewarded. But as you say, it's a bit hard when other players that are trying to do the same thing, like Nev, are coming under a lot more criticism than Johnny, when in fact they're doing a very similar kind of thing. It's just that unfortunately Johnny is there to do that, whereas I don't think Nev was brought in to run around after the ball. He was brought in to score goals, and I think that's why the criticism is higher. But yeah, I mean, I think Johnny's a decent player, and I think with his international record and with what he brings to our team, he's always going to be a popular player, and it does protect him from criticism. In terms of the game itself, I said I wasn't going to use the word frustrating because I know a lot of people have been saying that this week. So I'm going to go for exasperating instead. But the first half was so intense to watch. There were so many chances. That early Seb chance was absolutely awesome. And you just, about 10 minutes in, you thought, oh, we're going to win this. It's going to be 3-0. It's going to be 4-0. And the longer the half went on, you thought, what are we going to have to do to get that ball in the back of the net? And at half time, I turned to someone who sits fairly near me and they said, oh, we're never going to score. And I said, yeah, but do you remember what it was like last season when we got to 70, 80 minutes and we hadn't had a shot on target? This is so much better. So although it was kind of hard that we didn't get that first goal, it didn't feel like a bad game at all because it was so much more enjoyable to watch. And we weren't just, mooching around in the middle of the pitch. We were having a really good go. And I think Seb has to take a lot of the credit for that in that first half because he was really, really good. The one thing I did just want to touch on is that there was a lot said about how quiet the fans were on Saturday. And I don't disagree because I think I felt even from the Raynham end like it was quieter. But I did feel like if we'd scored an early goal, the place would have been jumping. And it wasn't quiet because nobody cared. It was quiet because everyone was tense and waiting for that ball to go in. And I think that was kind of proven when Nev did score the goal and everyone celebrated like we'd won the cup. So, yeah, my feeling was that it was a good game. I think everyone did play really well. But we just need to see some goals. Get those goals in and it'll be a completely different atmosphere. But it was a really, really good game.
And finally with you, Chris, again, your thoughts on the game and your players has already been mentioned today. Shad Ogie, I want your thoughts on him. And if we, sorry, mate, and if we want, if we're really thinking of potential promotion at some point, can Gillingham get promoted or put a playoff push together with Shad Ogie at the back?
I think you can. Whether we will or not, it's a different story. I think he can, but I think Shad, I put a post up last week saying I'm a big fan of his, and I still stick to that. I still think that there's a player in there. As Warren said, he does make the odd mistake. Can we put that down to match fitness? I don't know, because he was making those mistakes last season when he was fit. But when he first came in start of this season, he was really solid. I don't think he made any mistakes, but then he went out injured and the mistakes have started creeping back in. I think the problem we've got with Shad and will have with Shad is maybe if the mistakes continue this season, will we then look at it and be like, well, he's not listening or he's not learning. He's not learning from them mistakes. We talk about the young lads in the Virtue Trophy and, they learn from them mistakes potentially. And it will stand him in good stead. But Shad doesn't, he just has that lapse in his head, and invariably that lapse does lead to chances, which is unfortunate. But I think if you were to play Shad slightly further forward, I know Warren's going to hate this, played Shad in like a defensive midfield role, so that he's then not the last line of defence, because he can move the ball forward. He can take players on. He's very strong with that. But yeah, I just think I'd like to give him a couple more games back to see what happens, because as I say, when we started the season, he was very solid. But since he's come back, the errors have come back in, and if at the end of the season the errors are still persisting, then I think maybe it might be time to then look at it and be like, well, you're not learning, so what are we going to do about that? And for the game, I pretty much echo what everyone else has said, really. I think we looked solid, we looked strong going forward. It was nice to see, the likes of Seb playing well. I think that they defended really resolutely to keep us out in moments, and this is kind of what we need to expect now as Gillingham Football Club, because teams are going to come to us with a low block because they know what we are capable of. I think I had a conversation with someone on X about this yesterday. I can't remember who it was, and I think it might have been Matt. They come with a low block. They come to shut up shop and then possibly nick a goal. And, Cheltenham did exactly that. So, yeah. And Nevitt's goal at the end, okay, I'll give him that one.
Let's move on.
There you go.
No way.
Surprise, surprise. Sorry, I wasn't meant to go to that screen yet. It was meant to go to Phil's fault. Sorry.
Well, we started really strongly. We had 2 cast iron chances within the first 2 minutes. So somehow we just weren't able to score again. And it's really frustrating when we do all the right things, but we just can't get the ball on the back of the net. Cheltenham, on the other hand, well, they snuck in and it looks like they had the winner. But so thank goodness Nevitt was there to score that goal. And I'm absolutely thrilled for him. And I'm thrilled that we actually ended up with a draw. However, we should have won comfortably. So, lessons to be learned. Fingers crossed, next week at Grimsby will be a lot better. Up the Gills.
Right, we'll start with you, Warren. So we can see your man of the match is Elliot Nevitt. Right, let's move on to the next one. So, go on then, Warren. Here you go. Off you go.
Right, I think he saved the day. He came on. He could have come on and sulked after being unfairly dropped, in my opinion. I think he just came in. He got a chance. He got the ball in the right area for a change inside the penalty area, and he put the ball away with aplomb. We got a draw when it looked like we was going to get beat, and for me, he just edged it. And he deserves it for his goal. And if nothing else, just to wind you lot up and shut you up.
And Bex, you've gone for Max Clark.
Yeah, I kind of feel almost a need to apologise to Max because I've not really been his biggest fan. But I thought during the trophy match in the week, he looked really strong, and he was strong again this weekend. He was all over the pitch. He was making great runs, some great passing. So, yeah, it's a slice of humble pie and an apology from Bex to Clark. So, yeah, my man of the match.
Chris, you've done the same. What were your thoughts on Max?
I just think he's Mr. Solid. He gets some stick from certain quarters of the fan base, but I've always been quite a big fan of his. I say I prefer him in a back four. I do think we looked a little bit unbalanced as a squad on Saturday because he's not naturally a forward-thinking player with runs and stuff. But I think what he did on Saturday was he did the basics right and he did the basics correctly, and he was just solid. It was a close one for me this week because it was out of him and Ethan Coleman. But yeah, Max just about tipped it.
And I went for Andy Smith. I nearly went for Max Clark, but I went for Andy Smith. He seems to be a bit Jekyll and Hyde for me at the moment. 1 week he'll have a really good game, and the next he'll look a bit iffy. But I thought he looked really solid in what he had to do. I thought he looked really solid, and almost back to where I think us Gills fans want to see him. We don't want to see the Bromley Andy Smith. We want to see a solid Andy Smith, because obviously if we want to look to be moving up this division, defence is key, and he's going to play a huge role with that defence.
Yeah.
View 6. So this week we took on James, and as you can see by the score, it was a low scoring affair. Even with one of the games being postponed for international call-ups, we drew 2-2. And as a trio, myself, Warren and Chris really need to sort it out, because at one point, I think we were 9 or 10 points clear, and we're now 12 points behind. So it's a big week. And yeah, we'll move on and see who we're against this week. So I put a tweet out this week to just say that obviously not every Gills fan likes coming on podcasts, likes being on camera. So we are going to open it up to fans on social media that if you do send us a DM, we'll send you the fixtures and you can take us on that way. And we were the Pirate asked to come on and give us a game.
Good old Chris.
And the fixtures this week are Cambridge Bromley, Barnet Notts County, Colchester Harrogate, Grimsby Gillingham, Newport Cheltenham, and Shrewsbury Crawley. And looking at both sets of fixtures, we both seem to be going relatively similar, bar we've gone for a draw at Newport Cheltenham, and the Pirate has decided that Cheltenham are going to beat Newport.
Pirate.
I know. And we've gone for Colchester to beat Harrogate, and he has gone for Harrogate to beat Colchester. So fingers crossed, it's a high scoring week for us because it's looking a little bit embarrassing at the moment.
Guys, just before you go, right? The Pirate runs this sweepstake before every Gillingham home game in the Sturdy Club, right? And he never gets it right. Right?
Yes, we got a chance.
I can assure you, I think we stand a chance this week.
We'll wait and see, mate. We'll wait and see. And
You
we're
watch.
off.
I'm going to cop loads of pelters if I'm now wrong and he beats us. But if we're going to win a week, this is the week we're going to win.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed.
Next
So this week we head off. So this week we head off to Grimsby. As you can see from the last 5, we've both over the same period of time won 2, lost 2, and drawn 1. Not normally a happy hunting ground for the Gills. I know you, Warren. I'll start with you because you always enjoy a trip to Grimsby, and I'm sure you're probably going there again this weekend. What would you take from this game, and what should we be looking to do at this game? Should we be going back to a back 4? Should we stay as a back 5 for this game?
Yeah, I think Grimsby have proved they're quite free scoring this year. I think they're very good on the counter. I think they draw teams onto them and then go bang. They've got a lot of pace in their side. So we've got to be a little bit careful. So I'd still stay with a 5 at the back, even though I don't like it. And I think that Hutton and Clark may be a bit more defensive-minded this week than they were in the home game against Cheltenham. It's not a happy hunting ground. The only time that I've seen us win at Grimsby, I was in the press box doing the match report for Chatham News, right? And we won 2-1. And I had Tony Hudd, the ex-Evening Post sports writer, who was in cahoots with Tony Pulis in the court case against Scally. And I can remember him throughout the whole game keep asking me what was going on, right? And I'm thinking, you're the professional. And you had all these guys with their laptops in the press box, and there was me with my notepad and paper. But the biggest smile I got out of the day was Peter Lloyd seeing me in the press room before the game eating sandwiches. That was priceless. Absolutely priceless. But we don't do well there. I don't expect anything other than a defeat. If we get anything, if we get a draw,
So blasé about that.
Yeah. Let me guess, 2-0 Grimsby.
I'm going to go 4-1.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Right, David, if that's the case, mate, we best get the waterproof mattresses out because there's going to be a hell of a lot of bedwetting on Saturday if that's the case.
Yeah. Right. Bex, same to you. Thoughts for Saturday? And is there any changes you would make to the starting 11?
I think given how many injuries we had last weekend and how many people out, it's a bit hard to tell until closer to the weekend when we know who's coming back. I think I'd probably be inclined to give Dak more minutes than he had last week if he's fit enough. I'd keep Seb and Vokes at the front. It's just going to depend who else is available. You know, if we can get McCleary back, I'd say get him in. But it's just hard to call it, isn't it, at this point in the week? I can't be dealing with all the negativity, though, so I'm going to say 1-0 Gills.
There we go.
Chris, finally to you, mate. What are your predictions? And obviously, Josh Andrews will return from suspension. Will he come straight back into the team, or will he have to make do with a place on the bench?
No, I think that we should start Sam Vokes up top with Mr. Prolific goal scorer himself, Elliot Nevitt. I just thought that I'd no, I'm joking. I'd probably stay with the same front two because we looked really good on Saturday. Maybe again, as Nick said, get Daki come in, give Johnny a little bit of a rest. Stay with back five because we're away from home and we need to shore up a little bit. Probably would. I'd like to give that Travis Akamea a little bit of a run out, to be honest. That would be quite nice. Maybe take Shad out and give him a little bit of a run out, see how that works. But again, it's just all youngsters at the back, isn't it? So is that going to work, or is it going to be a detriment to us? But yeah, again, you can't really see it. You can't really say on a Monday. It could get to Wednesday and McCleary could be back. It could get to Thursday and Johnny Smith's back. So until we know that, maybe Friday, then I wouldn't like to hazard a guess. But result-wise, I'd be happy with a 1-1 draw.
And a question to you all before we move on regarding the back three. Would any of you be against moving Robbie McKenzie back into the back three where he played an awful lot at the start of the season, and maybe bring in someone more attacking into midfield, or bring Nelson Kumbene in to just freshen up the midfield? Because for me, we were solid when Robbie was in the back. I don't want to keep moving him around because he's finally found a position where he's playing well. But what are your thoughts if we were to go back and do that?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind that at all. I keep forgetting that Robbie plays at centre back sometimes. I just never remember it. But yeah, back five with Robbie would be okay. Probably who would you play next to Coleman? Because I think Coleman at the moment is undroppable after Saturday's performance and performances up until Saturday. Maybe Nelson comes in, or maybe you drop Johnny deeper and then play Daki in front. Yeah, I don't know, mate, but it's not a bad shout having Robbie put back there for a little while.
I think it's detriment that Amani's injured, and obviously there's not been much spoke about Amani's injury. I don't know how bad it is, but he's had a few weeks out now, and it's same happened last year, and it's getting a bit frustrating with Amani. As soon as he starts to play well, he seems to cop an injury that nobody really knows about, and he's out for weeks rather than 1 or 2. I would like to see McKenzie at the back. If we're going to go to a 4, I'd like to see McKenzie and Gal as our 2 centre halves, and then maybe bring in Kumbene, as you said, or if Amani's fit, bring Amani back in the centre of midfield alongside Ethan Coleman. But if you're going to play McKenzie at the back, you've got to go to a 4. And that means dropping Smith and Gal. Smith and Ogie, sorry.
And Bex, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think pulling McKenzie back would definitely add a bit of stability at the back. But if that means dropping Smith, I don't know that I'd be happy with wanting to do that. I'd rather have him in there, to be honest. It just depends on which players you get on the day, doesn't it? Because when he's having a good day, Shad is so strong. And whether you do maybe run that risk of swapping him and Robbie and just pulling Robbie back and letting Shad go in front and see if that makes a difference. I don't know. I think these are crazy times, whatever. We chucked Max into midfield for the trophy, I mean,
I knew.
What the heck?
I'm not laughing at you, Bex. I'm laughing at Warren. I'm laughing at Warren.
It's... Yeah,
I'm glad I'm near from the beginning, I can assure you.
Yeah, I think our back is definitely a conundrum when we've got so many injuries.
So you would play Ogie and Coleman in midfield. Is that what you're telling me?
Why not? Why not?
Chris and Beck.
Don't know if you try.
You play Ogie and Coleman as our centre midfield. Really? Would you really play Ogie and Coleman as our 2 central midfield players?
No, I genuinely wouldn't, but it's great seeing your face.
Such rubbish in my life.
Mate, it's just to wind you up, the same you're trying to wind us up with Nevitt.
It'd be like having the Titanic in midfield, wouldn't it, with a turning circle?
As we come to the end, we just thank the sponsors and partners. So our partners, Gillingham FC Supporters Club, Her Game 2 and Sports Social Podcast Network, and our sponsors, Snodhurst Used Cars Sales and Service Station and Wicked Creative. And a little shout out to Dee from Wicked Creative. I know Bex was involved and Sarah were involved with getting the blue hearts out for the start of the game to show you that everyone was thinking of Gareth. I think, yeah, top work there, girls. Well done. And if you don't already, like, follow, subscribe. We're on Facebook, View from the Medway, YouTube, the View from the Medway Fancast, and on X at the View from the Medway Fancast or at TVFTM. And I think that is it, isn't it, guys? Has anyone else got any admin that they want to say?
I'm still waiting for my apologies from Mr. Creasy, Mr. Crichton, Mr. Cleal, the 3 C's, and I know why you're all C's for a reason.
I will only apologise if he scores again before the new year. Then you'll get it from me.
Oh no, God. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'd like to just say well done to Dee as well, and well done to Sarah and to Bex. They cut the hearts out. Must have taken forever, more patience than I've got. So yeah, well done everyone, and every fan that held one up, every fan that got involved with posting, reposting, everything. And yeah, just absolutely brilliant. Well done.
Excellent. Well, until next Monday at 8 p.m, I've been David. We've got Chris, Warren, Bex, and well done, Elliot Nevitt. We'll see you all next week. Up the Jewels.